It's the newest Droid, and it's packing some killer specifications. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. This is the HTC Droid DNA. Let's take a look in the full review. But first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this that we turn around and give to you for free on the site in our spin to win instant win games. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates. You'll walk out the door paying $200 for this device when it launches tomorrow on Verizon Wireless. Let's take a look. Droid DNA, here we go. It's the full review, and it starts right now. So when you look at this device in comparison to the others, you know, it's not really that different. The size is about the same, the format, the overall look and feel is about the same, but where this is different, this is a flagship device for HTC. This is the HTC Droid DNA. It's coming tomorrow to Verizon Wireless, so the November 21st for $200 with a 2-year agreement, and it's packing all the killer specifications. When HTC launched this device, or announced it last week, they made a point to reference the fact that they're trying to come up with a device that has the specifications of next year's specs. So kind of trying to think ahead, if you will, with this device. And when you really look at wireless and you think how hard it is to plan ahead, it doesn't seem that hard when you look at a device. But when you realize they're pitching these devices to carriers months and months before they actually hit retail shelves, it's really actually kind of interesting and pretty cool to see how far they've gone with this device. I mean, they're pitching this to Verizon, you know, months and months ahead of time. And so to look at this device and realize, you know what, this device was probably in concept 9 months ago or a year ago, and then you're like, you know, this is what came out. It's still an awesome device with killer specs that really are kind of like next year's specifications. It's got a 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU, a 5-inch 1080p HD display, so 5 inches here. So not only is it a big display, but it's also a 1080p display. So it's got a ton of pixels, 440 pixels per inch here, and it's 5 inches, and it's the first device in the States to have a 5-inch 1080p HD display, or 1080p display period. So that's super cool. 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording capabilities, a 2020 milliamp hour non-removable battery, 16 gigabytes of onboard storage here, and you got Android 4.1, also known as Jelly Bean, with HTC Sense version 4 Plus. So quite a few high-end specifications on this device. And excuse me, it really is the device to beat all devices. You know, you look at devices, this reminds me a lot of the HTC Evo 4G, because you look at devices that come out of the market and it's like they've got killer processors but terrible displays, or great displays but terrible cameras, or great cameras but terrible batteries, or whatever the case may be. This really is a device that's all around a great device. Some people are concerned about the battery life. I will tell you that after working with this device for a few days, battery life's not incredible by any means, but it's definitely much better than you would imagine it to be with its 2020 milliamp hour non-removable battery. So let's talk a little bit about the design here. HTC Sense version 4 Plus on the software side. On the hardware side, you've got these nice red accents on the side, power button up top, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, micro SIM card slot, and then at the bottom, micro USB cable slot there. And then you've got over here right side, or left side rather, you've got your red, and then again, kind of red accents all around on this device, Ferrari red, as HTC calls it, and of course you get a removal tool here to take out your SIM card. So this is supporting Verizon's 4G LTE, which is available in 410 markets and growing nationwide. So if you're looking for 4G LTE, that's something that's really important to you this holiday season, or really important to a family member perhaps. You've got some options here, because this is going to be the most, or I should say, it's going to be available in the most cities nationwide in comparison to perhaps AT&T's coverage or Sprint's coverage, or at T-Mobile, which doesn't even have 4G LTE. They just have HSPA+. So that's an argument for another day, though. But you can see 4G LTE in a lot of different markets. Now, out of the gate, you do get some Verizon applications here. Amazon, Amazon Kindle, Amazon MP3. Typical stuff that you would expect from Verizon. You've got mobile hotspot, My Verizon Mobile, Google Play stuff. You've got Reign of a Mirror, which is a pretty nifty little application. If you like to play games, it's nice that that comes pre-installed on this device. Then you get some other Verizon bloatware stuff, visual voicemail, VZ Navigator, Verizon Tones. Unfortunately, none of this can be uninstalled, so you are kind of stuck with this out of the gate. So that's something to keep in mind. What you can do is easily access it from, or by swiping from left to right, rather, and you can see all the Verizon applications on the device that are pre-installed. So you can obviously see some stuff that I've installed on this device. Actually, you don't, because I reset the device before I went into this video. So we'll take a look at Quadrant Standard and speed test a little bit later in the video. But you can see 7 home screens here. It actually comes with 5 out of the gate, with the ability to add up to 7. And another question that I keep getting from people is, how big is this device? You know, it's a 5-inch display. Does it fit in the hand? It does. Despite being a bigger display, HTC is very big on the fact that this is not a phablet. This is not a tablet phone. This is just a supercharged smartphone with a 5-inch display. So it's still relatively easy to hold in the hands. I mean, it's a big device, but I wouldn't say that it's any bigger than the Galaxy S3, just for comparison purposes here, which is, you know, a hot device in the market right now, available on 5 different carriers, or perhaps the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, which you can see here, a little bit of a size difference, but nothing crazy by any means, and you can still easily access with your thumb. You know, you're holding it like this, you can access the left side, the right side, with both hands. But what's nice about this is it brings together a big display. So somebody that, you know what, wants a device that's pocketable, wants to be able to get it in those skinny jeans or that tight purse, but they still want something that has a big display for content creation, maybe watching YouTube, doing things like that. You got the option to do that on this device. Another thing I really like about the design aspect of this device, HTC was smart here. Unless you're like me and try to turn your device over to avoid notification lights, there are actually 2 notification lights on this device. One on the front, and then one which you can't see right now, but it's back here on the back of the unit. So I'm going to send a text message to this device just so you can see what that looks like. And while we're doing that, I'll show you the red up front here as well. You got your front-facing camera up top. So I'm going to send a text message, and we'll go ahead and answer this in just a second. We'll say hello, and you'll see it pop up in just a second. Make sure I sent it to the right number for my. These are both demo phones, by the way, but you'll see status light there, and then when I pop it over, got a status light right there as well. So it's great, and like I said, unless you're somebody like me that actually flips your device over to avoid the notification light. There's no option to turn off the back one but leave the front one on, for example. You have to either go all in or all out. You got to either turn it on and go with both, or turn it off and forego both notification lights. So you got that, and of course your message is here, and this is again is a demo phone number, that is. So you can see here, well, hello there, Brown Fox, and a good day to you, sir. Hello. The quick brown fox jumped. You know, I'm going to go boring today. Jumped over the lazy dog. Not the lazy sblogger. Lazy dog. Quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, and there's something that I have been really impressed with this device on, and that is the new HTC Sense keyboard. This is Sense 4 Plus, just as a recap. They've revised the physical QWERTY, or the on-screen QWERTY keyboard rather. Not only are transitions incredibly fast thanks to that quad-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, but this is much improved. And if I bring it in, hopefully if you've worked with an HTC device, you might notice the subtle design changes to this keyboard. But I find 2 things. One, with a 5-inch display, it's incredibly easy to type on. And 2, and actually perhaps the more important of the 2 points, they've revised it and made it really easy to type on. It's a fantastic keyboard all around that I've been really impressed with. So easy to type on, little to no errors whatsoever, obviously with the exception of that, but I can say, you know, how are you doing today? Thanks for the information, and type just like that and easily get out what I'm trying to say. So it's relatively easy there. Another thing that they've added, if you're familiar with the Note 2 or the Galaxy S3 and you like those personalization features within text messaging, you know, things like the ability, like you're seeing here, to have a background wallpaper behind the messages themselves, or to change the color scheme. All you have to do is go to Menu and go to Personalize, and you get the option to change the colors. So I can change the colors of the actual text themselves and go to, you know, let's say this, for example. You see those change. Then I can go back to Personalize, click on that, go to Background, click on HTC backgrounds, and I've got a wealth of options here as well. So I can choose the wood panel, for example, and see that it changes to that relatively easy. So they're offering even more customization choices outside of just Sense 4. They've got a ton of different options, and they're adding to it with stuff like this on Sense 4 Plus. Now you get the same kind of personalization screen that you're probably used to if you worked at all with Sense 4 over here. You got your scene, your skin, your wallpaper, your lock screen style, and more, and all this can be accessed through the settings on this device. And of course you got your lock screen style. One of my personal favorites is this one, Productivity, where you can create this thing on screen that shows the weather, it shows your text messages, your emails, your calendar appointments, your missed calls, and more. So I like to apply that one, and I'll show you it in just a second. But then I can go back in here and change some more of the personalization choices, like lock screen shortcuts, home screen, wallpaper. I actually have the skin set to concrete, but I can take it back if I want to, for example, to the default HTC theme. Or actually, this is a new one on the Droid DNA, Graphite, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's kind of a funky looking theme. You can see here, got kind of a pencil looking look to it, if you will, and of course around all the icons you got kind of a pencil theme going on in a different lighter color, both in the notifications bar and all around in the actual system itself. Now, speaking of notifications bar, you'll notice here this has changed as well. No longer do you get your signal strength indicators, your battery life meter. When you pull down the notifications bar, you get the network ID down here in the bottom, your clock up top, settings buttons, a typical Jelly Bean look and feel here. You do get this Wi-Fi button as well. Unfortunately, Verizon does not give you the option to remove that. That's a Verizon thing. It's a pesky Wi-Fi notification that we've seen on countless Verizon devices, as you can see here on the Galaxy S3 Wi-Fi. It stays there, you can't move it. They're trying to get you to use Wi-Fi. I get why they try to do that. That said, most consumers aren't stupid. If they want to turn on Wi-Fi, they'll turn on Wi-Fi, and that just turns into kind of a pesky notification that you can't get rid of. It just stays right there the entire time, all the time, in the notifications bar. Let's take a look also with 4G LTE at the website. We'll go to phonedog.com and take a look. So again, very easy to type on, and they've made some slight enhancements to the browser also. You'll see tabs up here and menus, so I can easily click my tabs and no longer do I have to kind of scroll to the top and hope that it activates that tab menu that you know, that you probably know that I'm talking about. But pinch to zoom, relatively responsive here. Portrait to landscape transitions nice and fast. I've had no lag whatsoever on this device, and I can't underscore this enough. Obviously, this is one of those things you need to go into the Verizon store if you're at all interested in this and get your hands on it. But I like how this feels in the hand. It doesn't have that added meaty feel that the Note 2. When I carry this thing around, it's a hefty device. This is a review unit, but when I carry it around, it's a big phone. It's a big phone. It's hard to keep in the pocket. And when I sit down, it pops out of my jeans pocket. That said, I find that this is more of a phone-looking feel. Even though it's got a big display, it's easier to pocket. It's a little bit thinner. It's easier to fit my hands around. And I think for a lot of people that are okay going without the content creation stuff on the Note 2, if they're okay foregoing the S Pen, for example, and things of that nature, you should be pretty good with this device. Keep it still locked on phonedog.com for part 2. We're going to cover speed tests, quadrant standard, camera settings, and more.